Howdy folks, I wanted to show you my John Suscovich style chicken tractors. If you look at YouTube, there's a ton of people out there using this exact style. All of the styles are copied from John Suscovich out in, I think, New Hampshire. Very successful person that has started a small farm that has a brewery on it. He does some pasture-raised poultry, pork, and I believe waterfowl as well. I believe he's got some ducks, maybe even sheep. But he, I believe, invented this chicken tractor style, and it is incredibly successful. Last year I tried the Joel Salatin method, and I didn't have any exact plans to go by, and I kind of messed up. I built them a little too big, a little too heavy. We had some casualties because we raised Cornish cross real late in the year. They got sick, and getting in to retrieve the carcass in a 2-foot tall box was just a lot of work, and I didn't really care for it. So I went ahead and disassembled all those, saved the lumber, saved some of the wire for this year. I did have to buy some material to build these, but for the most part, this is all recycled. I did give them a shot of paint so they look a little nicer. Had to buy some new tarps, bought some hardware cloth from the bottom. All that stuff is included in John's book. It's available at farmmarketsolutions.com, or I believe you can also get it on Amazon. And his book covers how to build these. There's a few things that are missing in his book, like the height of the door, things like that. But if you're going to take on a project like this, you can probably figure out those measurements pretty easily. So the reason I'm really making these videos is to show some of the, what I call, improvements to John's style. So what I see on YouTube and what I've researched about growing these Cornish cross, I'm fairly new at this. This is our second year growing them. And what I see is people giving these birds a measured amount per day. John's plans include hanging a piece of PVC with some caps in the end and going in every day and pouring feed in and pouring water in a bucket for them. I wanted to make it as few trips in and out of these tractors as possible. Every morning I get up, I come out here and I put the wheels on the back of these tractors and I pull them ahead 10 feet. And these birds are on fresh green grass, weeds, bugs, you name it. They're eating as much grass and bugs as they are feed, it seems. And that just leads to a flat out better tasting bird. But what I really wanted to show you is what I changed in John's design. First of all, the tarps. John's plans call for including chicken wire over, if not all of it, at least from this conduit to that conduit right there. I did not put any chicken wire behind these tarps. It is open. Just bent it over, tied the edges kind of back to themselves is all. And I figured that if I had any predators that would come up, they would try to attack from the side. If I have a larger predator here in northern Minnesota, like a black bear, it's going right through that chicken wire. It's going to go right through that tarp, and it's not going to make that big of a difference. So saved a little bit of weight, saved a little bit of cost. Once again, I had a little extra used chicken wire. I kind of stomped it all flat, put a piece of plywood on it, and walked on the plywood, got it straightened out, looking pretty good. And what I really did is that feeder in the watering system. So these are Stromberg 50-pound feeders. And in John's plan, it calls for 4 pieces of conduit and 1 piece of conduit for a ridge beam, just to tie them all together. I went ahead and replaced that centerpiece with a 2x4. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to hang that feeder. I put a pulley right there at the end of my finger. That way, from the outside, I can raise and lower that feeder. So I can take the feed away from these birds. And right now, these birds are just pushing up on 5 weeks old. And I am giving these birds feed for about 13 to 14 hours a day. The older they get, the more I'll reduce that. I'll try to get down to a straight 12 on, 12 off with the feed. But these feeders, once again, they hold about 50 pounds of feed. Right now, I'm having to give them 50 pounds every 5 days, 6 days maybe. You can see I just tied the rope off to a old bungee cord hook. Goes up to a little tiny pulley. I would go a little bit bigger on the pulley, a little bit bigger on the rope. I'll show the backside here in a moment. But the thing I really am proud of is this bucket. So I just drilled and put in a small hose bib or hose nipple. Silicone that in, ran a little piece of 1-inch line down to another nipple, a T, a couple conduit clamps, and standard chicken nipple waterers. These are great. If you don't have these, you need these. If you're just putting a bucket of water out, gravity fed, and these chickens are getting them dirty and you're having to clean them, it's just not worth it. You can see these birds are not having any issues with them, keeping them clean. It's just a great system. So I will show you the back now. Looks like I'm gonna have some escapees here, but you know, there they go. No big deal. We'll get them in a minute. They're not going too far. So the other thing I did, the skis that stick out, just drilled a simple hole. John calls for a gusset in there. I couldn't really find a cheap method I liked, so I didn't do it. I did, however, cut a 45 on that ski, just because when you're dragging it ahead, you don't have another edge to just catch you up. Standard rubber air-inch tires, just like John really calls for. I think I got those at Harbor Freight for $8 a piece. The end of the rope for the feed bucket, give this a pull. Just an old washer I had in a spare bolts bucket. Hook it down here on this lag bolt, and it is up and out of the way. They can't feed. Once again, we're doing feed on and off for 12 hours at a time. Works pretty well. Hopefully you guys take something away from this. Thanks.